Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Odd Duck broadcast. I'm your host, Quindolin Rivers, and joining me today, they may not be reality TV mega celebrities yet. We're waiting for that reboot of Destroy, Build, Destroy, our Cartoon Network, but we do have half the cabinet of the Alpha Pi Epsilon Alumni Association. We have El Presidente, Jacob finna get his cake up, and then the Vice President, the real leader behind everything, the operations manager, Maxwell. How are we doing, fellas?
Doing great. Happy to be here.
Doing great, Quinn. Happy to be here.
Oh, man. Today, we're going to cover a myriad of things. If you weren't aware, I actually have a movie that is pitched and actually owned by CBS. And so we're going to kind of talk about what that movie could be. Because if you share anything in the Big Brother house that you don't have like direct proof that you thought of before being in the house, CBS just owns it. So technically, I have successfully pitched a movie to the executives at CBS. So we're going to kind of share that with the audience today. But beforehand, we do have some questions from our loyal viewers. And if you weren't aware, if you didn't see my Instagram story, these guys are some of the smartest people I know. Okay, right now, you want to know why we're not in the same place? Between the three of us, there are people trying to get us. Okay, we have the president, the vice president, and then mega celebrity status. So we're all in different bunkers across the U.S. I don't want to put your business out there, Maxwell, but you do have launch codes. So if anyone's looking to take this guy out, check him out on LinkedIn. He's happy to share for the right price.
Exactly.
The first question we have from my girl, Heather Newman. She wanted to know what your guys' reaction was when you found out that Quinn was going to be on Big Brother. Max, I had you in the loop from day dot. Cakob, you were a little bit later to the game where it was like speculative, but I didn't have any hard evidence. What did you guys think?
Well, in terms of me, at least, this is kind of a cocky answer. I wasn't surprised, right? Like once Quinn showed us his like pitch video, it was like, yeah, he's got it. This is good. I don't know if you've shared your pitch video so far, but I mean, talk about a template. Like if you've got a bug, you've got to do it. I'm just saying that's how it works. So once Quinn was kind of explaining some of that in his like interview process, I mean, you know, hypothetically,
yeah,
it was a lock. It was a lock. There was never a doubt in any of our minds. He had it in the bag.
I remember I got the silent treatment. So Quinn and I had a streak, and then all of a sudden disappears off the face of the earth, and I was like, I hope my boy's okay. I have other ways to contact him, but I don't think that's going to work either. And I had heard whisperings of this opportunity, and I was like, I'm sure he got it, and that just had to be a requirement of not using your phone. But that's how I found out, and I was like, dude, that is the coolest thing that's ever happened to this fraternity, honestly.
Oh my gosh, I remember like
straight up,
we're up. I remember like I sent one last snap streak, and it straight up is a picture of me and Maya, and I'm like, and we're like packing up my apartment, and I'm like, hey, not gonna snap for a while, but it's for cool reasons, hopefully. And then it was like I got in this like this vehicle with blacked out windows. It took me to the airport, and then like next thing I know, I'm like putting my phone in an envelope, and then I was like, hopefully I'm not getting killed. You know, hopefully I'm looking like CBS's Big
blacked
Brother,
out windows,
beheading.
Oh yeah, it was kind of sick. I was like sitting in the back, and I like asked the guys like, can we listen to music? And here's the thing, post show, I realized they just hired that guy. But for some reason, he was being super ominous. He had like his sunglasses on. He looks at the like rear view mirror and he just goes, sorry, we can't do that. And just like walks back in. And my apartment, like in Nebraska, it was like so close to the airport that it was like a 13-minute drive, probably 12-minute drive. Did you guys want to share how the vegetable clock things work? I heard it might be acid or zinc. I don't know. Thoughts? Concerns?
I think it's just whatever metal you're putting into the, like if you're putting a zinc metal into the potato and it runs a current because it interacts with the natural acids in the potato
will like create a chemical reaction with the zinc and the wire, and then it'll create like the current for it to go through.
And I've
That's
read
my
it's 0.2 milliamps,
These guys
which is
are
like
dorks.
almost nothing.
These guys are nerds. That was a setup. I just wanted to expose them for studying in school. All right. I was a business major. We were coloring the notebooks. Like we were drawing within the lines if we were getting straight A's. Yeah, education, sure thing, brother. Okay. That was a question from Gabby Rorty, and then Stephanie touches on this where she says, "How are they breaking the stereotypes of toxic masculinity and fraternities?" And that was something I did want to touch on. It's kind of an alley-oop, so shout out Stephanie. Our fraternity is like a little different, I would argue. You know, we're not like other girls. We're out here respecting women. We literally host an event every year called Summer's End Extravaganza, aka Sex, where we talk about safe, consensual sex. There's like, you know, pamphlets. We're giving out free condoms. We're talking. It's like getting an open dialogue and like tearing down like the taboo of premarital sex, even marital sex. If you don't want kids, this is how you do it, you know? And then we donate money to Family Health Services, which is like the way that you convince Nebraskans to donate to Planned Parenthood, which I think is pretty clever. You know, we had like tire shops being like, with their big wrenches being like, "Oh, Family Health Services, here's $500." And we're like, "Yeah,
We
thanks,
love
man.
family.
We're gonna go fund abortions," you know. And so, you know, we are tearing it up in that atmosphere. For you guys, what was the experience of like, you know, the identity of masculinity joining a fraternity? Was that something you were looking for? You know, were you trying to be toxic or what?
I hated the idea of a frat. I got to college and I was like, this sucks. I don't want to do this. And then I very quickly realized this was different. Also, not being like larger groups and we only respond up to our school. Like, we didn't go higher than that. Like, we're not part of a national chapter. So it was like, oh, we regulate here and we make the rules here. And I don't know, just the basis of pillars and holding each other accountable is super important. I think that's something that's often overlooked in Greek life. But for me, my image of fraternity in Greek life was quickly changed once I met you guys. Quinn, it was actually you that gave me a 5-hour pep talk on my first day of classes ever.
Dude, we had a beautiful conversation in Hanson. We were like having a like beautiful moment, and then I didn't talk to you for like another 5 weeks. It just kept on. So we had this great moment, and I was just like, "Yo, I love that guy." And then I didn't see you for 5 weeks.
And then it was
Max,
static.
what were you thinking?
Yeah, I remember I checked out a bunch of other groups on campus, and I won't get into details, but like I went to their like rush parties and like open houses, and like from the moment you walk into the door, it's like, okay, this is a fraternity. Like you can tell it's like the movie one, and it's like, I don't know if I really want to be here right now. We're just like watching a football game and nobody's talking to each other. So it's like, you know, really fun, guys.
Babes?
Anyway, then I go to the 8th rush party, and it's like people like want to talk to you. And it was like, oh, this is like actually kind of different. Like I didn't get talked to at all at the last place. So like just running into that group of guys, it's like this is just a breath of fresh air and something that you'd never see in pop culture, but it's something that does exist. I'm glad I found it.
And both of you kind of mentioned like pillars. So each group at like our college has their pillars. Other groups, you know, they have like 2 or 3. We've got 7 because we're complex, beautiful people. You can Google this. So we're not giving out free game here, but it's like brotherhood and trust. That's like makes sense. But gentlemanship and respect were like the big ones. And it's not necessarily like the fraternity isn't a tool to teach like 18 and 19-year-old guys how to be respectful. It's just like meant to highlight, hey, the reason you would accept a bid from us is because that is important to you. And so I felt like that created a healthy narrative of like masculinity and stuff like that. You know, gentlemanship being like doing everything in your power to make others comfortable. That was like a huge takeaway. And then, but just because we're like these classy fellas, not fart smellers, doesn't mean we didn't bust it down. We didn't turn up, all right? I think that we should talk about the apes get marooned function with Toby Tobin, the man, the myth, the legend, who nearly died. I wasn't even there. I was the social chair. I organized everything, and then all of a sudden I'm getting phone calls of pure chaos. Max, I know you like had some proximity to Toby during all of this. What was?
Yeah, I mean,
give the rundown to the people.
Yeah, that's like the most notorious night that I can think of. I remember we were hanging out in 207, which was like one of our like living quarters or like bigger dorm rooms, and he was just going to town. Like he had this bottle of Smirnoff, and he was just like taking pulls from it. And keep in mind, this guy's like kind of new to the whole drinking game. Like I think he was a sophomore in the group. He like just rushed. He's taking pulls from this and then chasing it with a 2-liter of Diet Coke. So you know that like right. So he's like still going. He's like going like shot for shot. And then they run out of the Diet Coke. The dude takes a pull from the Smirnoff bottle and then chases it with water. So yeah, I mean, like I don't know. What do you think's gonna happen, right? It happened in like 40 minutes. So like the dude, Toby, he's like gets driven to this function, the apes get marooned function. And the whole point of it was to be like a shipwreck, you know, like gone wrong and whatnot, and we're marooned on the island. And anyway, like he gets there, gets dropped off, takes one step out of the car, and absolutely biffs it onto the concrete like sidewalk that he just got dropped off to. And I don't know what you heard, Quinn, but like he was down for the count within 5 minutes. Like they put him in the chair, and of course the vodka's hitting him like basically instantly because he hadn't eaten all day. So he gets in this chair and he's swaying side to side, and someone gives him a bowl because they think he's about to throw up, and the bowl might be like this deep. Anyway, the dude throws up, fills the bowl, goes over the bowl, and then like it's, keep in mind this is a like college room owned by the campus. This is the cafeteria that we're doing this in. Anyway, our Sergeant Matthew, he's like the guy who takes care of drunk people. He takes Toby into the bathroom, and on the walk to the bathroom, Toby just absolutely checks the brick wall, and like you would have thought his shoulder disconnected. Like he was a walking, like I don't even know. It was just a train wreck. Through and through, but Matthew stayed with Toby that whole night, and there was a lot of stories that came from that. That was a rough time.
This was one of like the very first like functions. I think it was like maybe my second or third function that I had planned and executed. And my leadership style is like kind of do most of the work and then just be like, all right, now that we're at the event, if you're on my team, you're just helping run it. But for this function specifically, our colors within the apes, Alpha Pi Epsilon, is maroon and gold. So we came up with a funny pun of apes get marooned. So as you're picturing this, imagine Toby wearing like one sock, Birkenstocks. He's got cargo shorts, bandana, like estrue, like
he's
with
looking
a
rough.
button up. Low key a vibe. And I'm not there for whatever reason. I was like, I couldn't be in town. And so I look at my right-hand man, Casey Dilla, the most just delightful human being you've ever met in your life, not ready for what's about to unfold. Because I'm telling you, and he has witnessed firsthand the last couple of functions. My main thing is like me texting him and be like, yo, can you go to Walmart and get Sour Patch Kids? And he's like, awesome. This is leadership. We're on it. Now I'm looking him in the eyes and I'm like, all right, Casey, you've got this. You have to run the event. First, I get a call that like half of the apes haven't invited a date to this function. And so I'm just like, my face is in my hands. I'm like, invite anyone. I was like, if you make eye contact with someone, just get them there. So there's like a full sorority that was just like chilling. And they're like, wait, we can come to this and put in zero effort and then get to enjoy the benefits. Sure, we'll come. So Casey's handling that. Toby's on his deathbed, like flew too close to the sun. He starts throwing up, and Casey's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? So he calls me, and he's like, Quinn, Toby's dead. There's vomit everywhere. There's too many women here. What are we gonna do? And I was like, don't panic. And he goes, I'm gonna call Phil, who's like the Greek director who he got the event like approved.
The last
like,
person to
Phil,
call.
Yeah, Phil was a little nervous about like the apes get marooned idea, which we'll circle back to that. Like this happened a week later that it then reappears. And he's like, I'm gonna call Phil. And I get very serious over the phone. I'm like, don't you dare call Phil. I'm anti-establishment, tear the system down. Rules are just a promise of violence. Okay? Law and order, get out of my face. Let me do my thing. And so I'm coaching him. I was like, this is what we're going to do. Get him some bread. Coach him through it. I was like, just get him out of there. And meanwhile, Jameson's handling it, by the way. Matthew is just
completely
like,
fine.
Get on my back. There's vomit everywhere. But the night ends up being somewhat successful.
Yeah.
From what I've heard, like everyone's outfits were fun. They had like sleeves ripped off, stuff like that. A week later, I get an email from this guy, Phil, and he's like, Dearest Quinn, I hope this email finds you well. I just had a quick question about the apes get marooned function. If you could join me in my office. And I'm like, oh my God, he must have heard. Because this is like Max said, this is like in a campus building. It's our cafeteria.
Yeah.
So there's cameras everywhere. And I was like, man, we are so busted. But until I see the footage in front of me, I am denying everything.
Yeah.
I'm
Absolutely.
And he has no idea that I wasn't even there. And so he goes, hey, thank you so much for coming in. So how'd it go? Just the most open-ended question. And I like sit down and I go, I don't want to brag, but I think it might have been the most successful function we've put together. I'm really proud. We had a lot of people there, finger foods, people were dancing, having a great time, and I loved the outfits. And he goes, oh, the outfits. Yeah, quick question for you. Were you guys getting naked and just walking around in their underwear? And I have in the back of my head the pictures of Toby full on like chimp gripping the toilet, like praying to God for mercy, like, please. There's pictures of Toby with like, he's chilling like this and he's got like a piece of toast on his shoulder, like this whole thing. And I am picturing this and I was like, underwear. Sir, we've got a lot of like band theater guys. I don't think anyone's stripping down, if you know what I mean. Right. That's not really our vibe. We're more like, just dance on the Wii. And then he goes, oh, okay. See, yeah, I just heard that some group was in their underwear. It ended up being like a sorority had a function like that same night where their whole thing is that they kind of get skimpy or whatever. It's like an empowerment thing. Which is pretty cool. I went to one my sophomore year and it was really cool. But I sat there and I just was like, yeah, it was not us. None of our boys would ever do that. I left that room and I was like, I'm going to go throw up with the rest of this Toby vomit,
No crime occurred here. Yeah. Yes. I remember the funny thing about the Toby night is like, this was like one of the first times that he got that messed up. So like he's sitting on this ground, on the bathroom ground. This is the bathroom that people who are eating lunch will use if they need to. So like talk about proximity. Like this is high traffic area. It's like 8:00 at night on a Saturday or something. Anyway, he's on the ground. He looks Matthew in the eyes, and Matthew's kind of like no BS, real serious sometimes. Looks Matthew dead in the eyes and asks the most just jarring question ever. He looks him in the eyes and he says, am I going to die? With full seriousness in his soul. Like, this is about ready to be a big deal. And of course, Matthew's like, no, dude, you're fine. So it was pretty bad. I think the funniest story about that is like, when I was in the function, it was like, where is Matthew at? He was in that bathroom for like 4 hours, making sure that Toby was all right. And like people had to come in and exfil him to go back to the squad. It's like someone had to get his new clothes, new shoes, because he got a little messy, right? And then someone had to drive him and get him into the car and whatnot. Anyway, talk about a notorious story. That was a rough one for him.
Cakob, if you had to describe your college experience beforehand, you gave it some colorful language. Would you like to share with the class what you said in regards to your college experience?
I mean, we're STEM, right? Max and I are STEM, and just to get through the everyday slog, you kind of have to be a part-time alcoholic. It's just part of the game, part of what we do. Not fraternity affiliated. That was strictly for STEM.
Just STEM, just the STEM guys.
Just STEM guys. I mean, business majors. Like drinking is one of your classes, right? Like that's a requirement.
It's beers. It's beers and bros.
I remember we had a professor. We had to take economics as engineers, which doesn't make any sense. But this economics professor loved like craft beers, and I remember the seniors. That I was a freshman, right? This is my first class ever at 8 a.m. And the seniors are talking about how much they like love Bud Light, and the professor just kept getting more and more mad because he's like, "Oh, they just don't understand. They don't get it," and it got a rise out of him so good. I thought that was one of the best parts.
Did you read Barrel Stout and Selling Out?
No, I think I had to take the next economics class to get that. I only
That was my dog Les Mans. His famously the most difficult professor, so hard.
Yeah.
And I took him for I took him for microeconomics, not macroeconomics, which is like the next one. And not messing around. Then the pandemic hits, and then all of a sudden this like older man is like incapable of teaching, and I was like on the sideline like I was like, oh my god, bullet dodged. Oh my god, too hard. I never read the book. I wasn't showing up to class. We made it out of there with a B+, but dude, man, that's funny.
Bravo.
Before we get into the movie pitch, I was reminded of this. So our fraternity might be filled to the brim with band, theater, choir. But we do have an athletic showdown called the Alumni football game, which I feel is like so much fun no matter what side of the team you're on. And the rules are it's football, but the alumni get to make the rules. And so then it's just like these middle-aged guys cheating the whole time. And what I thought of was, and I won't say their full name, but just our friend Hoppicer, very handsome guy, just a leader in every right, okay? The most like quarterback you've ever seen in your life. This is during homecoming. He drinks a full bottle of tequila. And he walks up wearing aviator sunglasses. Our sergeant at arms, Matthew, hero, who saved Toby's life, he's got the football in his hand thinking he's going to be the quarterback. Hoppicer walks up with the sunglasses on, takes the football out of his hands, goes, yeah, I'm quarterback. And then we all fell in line. And then he proceeded to put on the most impressive display of athleticism I've ever seen in my life. Max, you and Jameson made like plays, right? And it was like for weeks they're talking about, we have the 8 playbook. Make sure you check it out. And in my head, I don't know if you ever experienced this, Cakob, where I'm like, this is a bit. Like that's what our group is. It's just a bunch of dudes filled to the brim with like jokes and bits and things that go references on for too long.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm like, bro, this is obviously a joke. Next thing I know, it's game day, and they're talking about like Tina, whatever, Tina 420, and I'm like, they're like, get on your route. It's a go route. It's a go route. I'm like, I don't know what that means. Terrified.
Exactly.
And Officer proceeds to put on the most impressive display. Like, he was so good off the tequila that we probably should have subbed him in to our actual football team's quarterback.
Oh, we would have won.
That's how good it was.
Would have won. Oh, yeah.
We would have actually won a game. And as this is like happening, the alumni are just cheating. And so I straight up think he threw over 500 yards that game. He was slinging the rock like it was like Patrick Mahomes. It was great. Patrick Mahomes mixed with Tom Brady mixed with like Joe Burrow. He's just hitting kiss missiles to our hands, and it's just incredible. And then like we would score, we're high-fiving. They're like, all right, per the new rule, alumni get 42 points for every 12 points you guys score. So, oh, look at that. We're up 1,000. And we're like, we can get out of this if we just keep digging, you know?
Yeah, he was like the Terminator that day because like the second the tequila hit his bloodstream and the pigskin hit his fingers, I mean, like no remorse. Like his brain, I don't know what he was thinking during that, but I guarantee you it was strictly instinct. Like his body takes 3 steps back, perfect drop, and just like automatically sees the open man, perfect pass, and
perfect
then
spiral.
No smile, no emotion, just walks up to the first down marker and does it again. It was. I wish someone was recording it because he would have got drafted that year.
They would have been like, and for the first round draft, the Kansas City Chiefs choose Hoppicer. He'd be like, looking around. They have his picture on the screen. He's like, that's me. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Camera crews coming out there like, oh, what do you have to say? But yeah, I remember getting full body tackled by an alumni who was like 35 when I was probably 20, 21 years old. And I was put in the dirt. And I can't catch. Like, my athleticism is, like, pretty solid. And then it ends once it gets to my hands. And so it was for the first time they throw the ball. And I'm like, I can catch this. I was like, this is my moment. I was like, yes. I put my hands up, got my little triangle ready to go. I'm like, this is so money, taking it to the house. All of a sudden, I feel a freight train driving into my ribs, and then I am sliding into the grass, and they're like, oh my God, are you okay? I couldn't breathe, and I was just like,
It's also like a field. This is also like a field that just got mowed and is very hard and dense on the ground. So he's basically landing on concrete.
I'm like, yo, that's just straight up a rock. This could have killed me.
Yeah.
I too got tackled. Reverse of that, I was a new alumni, and one of the actives, thankfully, who was in my family line, who eats gravel regularly, he just latches onto me, right, like a backpack, but from the side, and I did not want to go down because I was like, this is so embarrassing. But first of all, you shouldn't be attached to me in the first place. And I'm fighting it. And then he starts kicking, right? He's swinging with his legs, and I'm down. I'm down for the count. And I went, what the hell just happened? And everyone was like, yo, you cannot tackle the alumni. Like, alumni don't tackle the actives. Like, it was crazy. It was crazy. But I got laid out. I was pretty embarrassed.
Absolutely spectacular. All right, are you boys ready to go through my movie pitch? And we've kind of brainstormed some ideas. Like, I hope everyone's ready. We straight up cooked on this. This is
absolutely
so ready. I'm so ready.
Check this out.
Like
sharing the screen.
Scorsese, like production might have.
Boom. Look at this. Who needs an editor? Come on now.
Boom.
On the moment. We're here. All right, let's hide that. This is my movie overview. CBS owns the rights. So at any point, I'm going to get a call from my besties in production, and they're going to be like, we've greenlit it. And I think that they're going to see this podcast, this episode of the Odd Duck broadcast, and they will be convinced. Okay? So here's the pitch.
Sign the check now.
This is the pitch.
Yeah. This is the pitch. It is a fraternity movie. That's why we've got my fraternity brothers here, the president and vice president of the Alumni Association, the greatest fraternity on the planet, by the way. All right? If there's any kids out there, age 18, you're thinking about going to Doane University in Crete, Nebraska, rush Ape. It's the only option.
Yeah.
It's the only choice, okay? Live a lifestyle worth celebrating, you know? We're not here to change you. We're here to celebrate you, okay? Uplifting one another. This movie is not an example of that. This is, I would argue, the polar opposite of what our Rush experience was like, but it is a fraternity movie, and the first mega star that we are going to have is the sophomore Shaun White, who is being played by Shaun White, playing Shaun White. Like, this is just him in the real world, 38-year-old man, 3-time Olympic gold medalist, X Games champion, had his own line of underwear back in the day. Like, it's just straight up Shaun White. And I want throughout the movie for our main characters to like acknowledge how ridiculous it is that Shaun White is like getting his education at this small school. The pledge leader, the guy who's running the Greek week, the punishment, the arbiter of pain, the one that is just delivering the thunder, raging moon, stare away, don't watch, it's too gruesome to celebrate, is Jeremy Allen White. Okay? This is our no-nonsense senior. He's getting his degree in like cooking, culinary arts. He's thinking about opening a restaurant where they serve bear. Like, it's going to be crazy. And he's going to share with our new members the roadmap to success. Okay.
This is
our main characters, which we'll get to. They're getting filled in. We're going to start with Rush. This is pretty central. You know, you go to all the Rush parties, you check out all the groups, you have fun. You get your bid. Fingers crossed it's an 8-bid. Otherwise, try again next year. Okay? Don't waste your time, brother.
Absolutely.
And then this is where we deviate a little bit. And I want you to know he's sharing this presentation exactly like this. Hazing.
18 and 19-year-old.
Yeah. These are kids, by the way. 38-year-old Shaun White is letting this happen. Okay? And
he's loving it.
Next, we go on to soup, which is a real thing that we experienced. I remember the second they mentioned a soup ceremony, I was like, hey, whoa. Time out. What is a soup ceremony? And then all of a sudden, everyone's real nervous, quiet, somewhat giggly. I don't know what your experience was. Cakob joined a year after Max and I. So, like, we were the ones with the knowledge of a soup ceremony. But, Max, what was your thought first?
Well, I remember they just kind of glossed over it, kind of like you did, where they were just like, yeah, and in Friday we'll do the soup thing. And it was like, soup what? You mean like we're going to have, like, dinner or something? Like, this is, like, yeah, it was cold out, but it's like, why do you need to tell us that we're having soup? So, anyway, we're talking about it, and it's like, okay. But, like, we're kind of looking around the room, and all the actives are just like, they're not having it. Like, they're just like deadpan stare, like, dude, don't ask about that. Like, stop. And I remember just thinking about it, like, we're looking at our like pledge trainer or whatever, and he's like, everybody's completely serious, and it just kind of turned grim a little bit. But, you know, we didn't really think much of it until we actually got there. I remember walking into the actual ceremony itself, but I'll let you take that one away, Quinn, because you were kind of the leader of that night for us.
We're dapping each other up
in terms of like
Cakob. Yeah. So Cakob, we were actives at this point. I was delivering the deed for you. I was not really, but how did we do in the like execution of mentioning just soup?
I think it was us pledges that kind of fucked it up because it was like laughing at a funeral, you know, like at a part that you maybe thought was funny and then no one else thought it was funny.
Right.
So us actors were like, soup. And there were a ton of us, right? So we're like, whatever this is, it's going to be fun, like soup, right? And at the time, there's all those, you know, stupid soup memes. So like, oh, this is funny. All the actives just deadpan. There's like some whisperings in the corner and like all the actives know what's going on. We have no clue, but we're just like, haha. And then we look around, we're like, oh shit. Like this probably isn't good, but we kept laughing about it because we thought it was all a joke. We thought you guys were pranking us.
Yeah, just jokes, just jokes. It's not trauma, that's for sure. And then at the end of the roadmap to success is freedom. After you get through the soup ceremony, you're free as a bird, baby. And then you can pass on that generational trauma onto the next group of rushies, those that are lucky enough.
Best
and
part.
This is our pledge class. All right. We've got Timmy Tim, Finn Wolfhard, Joe Keery, and Dylan O'Brien. These are our main characters. These are the guys that we're like, Timmy, Tim, and Finn. They are like twin brothers. They're the same age. I don't know why they haven't been in a movie together because they would be great brothers. Joe Keery, he was like, you know, he was the quarterback at his, he's kind of the officer, you think about it, of his high school. He sprains his wrist and pinky. So now he's like just looking for value in life. And so now he's rushing this fraternity. And then we have Dylan O'Brien after his stint on Maze Runner. You know, he heard his boy, Sean White, was joining this fraternity. He's like, yo, I want in on this. But, you know, no one's seen Maze Runner recently. So they just think that he's a guy named Dylan. And I get it, you know? Do you have any character traits that you guys would like to deliver on to our lovable cast of 4 dudes?
Joe Keery, like you said, Mr. Quarterman. His high school education though was like maybe not the greatest. So like at most 2-syllable words was what he's working with, and it sounds him out occasionally because he can't fully get it in his head.
Yeah, I can really see Timmy and Finn really being like the kind of jokesters of the pledge class, where like they're the ones like who can't stop laughing at a joke and like stuff has to get serious, where they're like, they've been brothers for so long, they start laughing and then they're like, dude, shut up. No, you shut up. No, you started first. And just like that kind of like twin brother kind of like character development sort of thing. And then you said, like Dylan was just kind of there. I mean,
he's eye candy, you know? He cost so much money. You wouldn't believe it. This is like an art film thing. So like Jeremy Allen White jumped on the opportunity and was like, hey, make it $5 you're paying me for the movie. Dylan O'Brien, we had to like pay him, I think it was straight up like $6.5 billion. It was crazy. And I agree with you, Max. Whenever I pictured like Timmy Tim and Finn throughout this movie, they are the ones that are like kind of reacting. They're like the comedic side of things.
Right.
And they're the ones that are keeping it light and airy for the rest of the pledge class. But every pledge class needs a leader. Okay? And the pledge class president is young Sheldon. And need I say more? But I will. Okay? What's there not to say outside of the fact young Sheldon in this situation is just straight up a 10-year-old kid. Not a genius. He thought he was showing up for soccer practice and the knitting club. And they're like, you want to join our fraternity? He's like, my mom said I can't be home between the hours of 2:30 and 9:30 at night. So, yeah, man, I'm down, you know? How do you guys think he stumbled into this leadership role? Like, we had a quarterback, Joe Keery. He's got that natural handsomeness that just makes you want to give him the ball and attention. How do you guys think young Sheldon took this role, this leadership position?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking like when they go to select the pledge class president, a lot of the times it's like, okay, who steps up immediately? Like who has the it factor in that leadership trait that's just like in your blood? And I think in terms of the last slide where we have our actors, like none of them really have it. Like Joe Keery, yeah, he's like cool and suave and kind of has it, but you know, young Sheldon's the one who really gets it done. Like once they come in with it, like faced with a task, young Sheldon is the one who's going to rile up his team and get them across the finish line, and he's the one who's going to make them want to run through a brick wall, and he gets that done right away. Like yeah, he's a 10-year-old with a bunch of like 20-year-olds, but he has it, and he's coming for it. So yeah, they vote him in unanimously. Nobody even runs. They're scared for their lives running against him. And he wins in a landslide.
Now, Cakob, I'm curious about you. Are you voting for young Sheldon? When you joined the fraternity, you had like straight up 20 other dudes around you to choose from. Max and I, we had 10 guys, best pledge class on the president. You know, we were built or on the planet. Sure. We were formed in 1972, perfected in 2019. You guys are kind of living in our shadow here. Would you elect young Sheldon?
Absolutely. I mean, in a way, you know, there's this air of whoever takes on the most responsibility gets ruined the most by the pledge leader. So
Mm.
so we said this guy, I mean, he looks like he could lead us into battle, and he's young enough. He hasn't been, broken down by life. But if at the end of the day, this guy's the one who takes the brunt of all of this, that's totally fine. That is a-okay with me. He has my vote any day of the week.
I love that, and I love the idea that like maybe the guys in the PC they're like a little unsure of how he got here himself, and so then maybe some of them like see it as an opportunity of like, yo, this kid is 10 years old. We're old enough to sign our waivers. They made him forge it, so like
Yeah.
His mom
they're
had to
gonna be a
sign.
little easy on him, and then they maybe are like under the like expectation that like they just saw young Sheldon on CBS, and they heard about the like the
True.
spin-off that's coming out with like what's her name, Emily Osment from Hannah
First
Montana. They're like,
marriage.
this is great. Yeah, that problematic marriage and romantic situation. But they're like, yo, this kid is like young Sheldon. He's probably like a genius. Little do they know, he straight up has like a 10-year-old's education. So they've elected their leader, okay? And they're excited, okay? Like they're thinking about buying their Adidas tracksuits so they can all match and stunt together. They're looking like pros, Russian mobsters killing it. And this is when old Jeremy Allen White stumbles into the room and he's upset, okay? He is so pissed and he is sharing the pledging priorities. The first bit that I have is vaccinations playing a large role of the pledging process. I like the idea of Finn Wolfhard. Like they get to the dorm room, it's him and Timmy Tim, and he's like so pissed and he's like, my arm is sore, dude. This sucks. We need to quit. And Tim's like, dude, get over it. And he goes, no, I've gotten my smallpox vaccination 8 times today. And Max, you had this idea. You should share what happens throughout the movie.
Yeah, I like the idea of him getting like some very known preventable disease that also sucks, like measles or smallpox. And like, they've given him so many vaccinations to the point where like throughout the course of the movie, he's developing the disease because like they're injecting such small amounts just to like kind of have your immune system figure it out before it actually hits you. But he's gotten so much of the actual disease that it's like raging in his body like a wildfire. And at the end of the movie, he has measles, like full blown measles. And
he's got like he looks like the episode of SpongeBob with the suds.
The
Like,
suds.
it's like day 3. He's got the scarf and the beanie on, and he's like, I'm so cold. They're like, yo, what's your problem? He's like, don't worry about it.
I think it'd be funny to be like,
It's for the fraternity.
almost like an Easter egg where like they're hardly acknowledging it, but like he's like kind of dropping it here and there. But you can see like as the days progress, he has lesions all over the place to the point where like he started out completely fine, and by the end of the movie, he's red everywhere, like head to toe. Just like it's all popping and disgusting, and he's like, "Hey guys, can I go to the doctor?"
They're like, shut up, get in line. Tell him about
somebody
the
wants another
gambling.
one.
Tell him about the gambling, Cakob. You're actually quite the gambler yourself. I have actually witnessed you. This isn't even a joke. It was like the casino night at Doan where you pulled up, started integrating real gambling techniques, and didn't you win like an iPad or something?
I did win an iPad from fake gambling. I think it's funny that our college, which at times is also a wet campus, was just straight up like, here, come gamble. Like the school paid for this company to come in and we gambled. I think I quadrupled my initial amount.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I was just using the martingale strategy over and over and over again, which for you gamblers out there, it never fails until it does. Then it does. But it was it's mandatory that all pledges know how to gamble. And this casino night is where it happens. Casino night happens before they rush. This is an integral part of deciding who or Jeremy Allen White deciding who he wants and who he's going to pick on the most. And it's the kids that do the best because he knows they're trying to play mind games with him. And he's like, we're shutting this down. right now. Like absolutely not. Not in my pledge class. Not on my core. And that's what he's on the lookout for. But you do have to be an expert, or maybe not an expert, but an amateur one-armed bandit. You got to have the form down. You got to know how to do that.
Oh yeah. And
Basic
it
things.
starts to get into like the questionable territory, like the things that they're gambling on, where it's like, hey, I don't think we should get involved in this. Like, I like the idea of they're like getting their
Like foreign
FAFSA money
affairs.
together. They're taking loans out on young Sheldon's name because he's 10 years old. It's like when parents have their kids' names on like their yacht,
Right.
and it's just like really questionable for tax purposes. Like they're getting real risky, and I like that they start like betting on horse races, like real scary stuff,
Yeah, young Sheldon racks up $640,000 of student loan debt in a week.
He goes to public school.
Going straight to the horse races.
And then this is a very real thing that one of my friends who went to OU told me about. I almost said his name. I don't want the like group to find out that he was dishing out secrets and then they take him out. But one of his experiences that he told me about with rushing was, there's way more drinking. Like he said that like one time they did a game of manhunt where they're running down all these like pledges. At our college, we call them new members. But for the sake of the movie, we'll call them pledges. They're like playing manhunt. They're getting fireworks, like Roman candles launched at them by guys leaning outside of their truck. My friend is like 6'1". He could straight bar curl like 135 pounds.
Oh my
like that's
God.
what he was doing in high school. And so he said that it took 4 guys to stuff him into the back of the truck. So once they get caught, they get put in this basement where it is pitch black, okay? Like, it's darker than dark. It's like trying to catch smoke in your bare hands. It's scary. All they had was the light of their jewels whenever they'd hit, and it goes into party mode, and a pack of matches, 3 bottles of vodka, and a puzzle that is just scattered about, not even in the box, but just on the floor. And they had this expectation of you have to finish the 3 bottles and put the puzzle together before we come get you. And so they're like, oh my gosh, we're going to get in so much trouble. So they, instead of trying to solve the puzzle first, they try to like drink all the alcohol. So they're like passing the bottle around, and it's a national fraternity. So there's like 20, 25 guys in their group. So they delete these 3 bottles of vodka pretty quickly, but they're all pretty sauced. And instead of, they light a single match, and it's so dim, they can't see the puzzle pieces. I want this moment where Joe Keery steps up. He's so drunk, and he's like, guys, I've been drinking since I was 13 years old. And everyone's kind of concerned. They're like, hey, man, I don't think that's allowed. And he goes, I've been to AA. I know how to do this. I know how to be drunk and how to handle myself. He grabs all the matches, and just like in real life with my friend, all at once. And so for a moment, they can see each other's faces. They can see the puzzle pieces. But just as quickly as the light illuminated the room, it vanished. And so I need that scene in this movie. Who wants to take on the 1987 All Valley Karate Tournament, which is part of Rush? They got approved by the college.
That's one of you two, for sure. The way you guys were talking about it earlier.
I think it's especially hilarious having one of the pledges just have smallpox or measles like crazy. And this guy's fighting, what is it, all under 18?
I mean, there's different age brackets.
These kids are probably 12. And these kids are 12 years old, right? And of course, young Sheldon's the only one who's like in remote age range. And these kids are like, yeah, I mean, whatever. Guy with the measles is just dying. And the secret strategy the whole time, they think they're going to whoop these 12-year-olds' ass, right? They get in there, and these 12-year-olds are just whooping them left and right. 7 days to Sunday, they're just getting their asses kicked. and then the pledges pull out their secret weapon, the guy with measles, and they're like, "This is the only way we're winning this. This is our last ditch effort." Guy with
Nobody
measles
wants to
comes
touch
in
him.
and can't be touched, right? Wins by default.
They all
Moms against vaccinations get real nervous when all of a sudden
Yeah.
they're like, yo, these are direct consequences in our house right now. This is a little nerve-wracking here. And then Max, why don't you tell the people about the pledge class pyramid scheme? What are they selling in your vision for this? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that the vision behind the pledge class pyramid scheme is to like set up like cash flow for the gambling that they do. Like this is almost like a gambling operation at this point, this fraternity. And it's kind of like a back burner in the movie itself, but like you can see like dudes coming like back and forth to be like talking about how much money that they're raking in from like all these other fraternities like nationally. And like their job is pretty much just to set up a pyramid scheme. So like each PC has the pyramid scheme that they have to set up, and then that's used for their gambling. And like I think it'd be funny if like there's like a notorious PC that's like still in school that's making like a lot of money. And like this is to the point where like the FBI is like, okay, who the hell is making in several $1 million in this small town? Like
why are they selling toiletries? Like, what is going on?
Yeah, just like an MLM, like a multi-level marketing scheme, where they're just selling like horribly marketed merch, just like terrible, and it falls apart the moment you touch it. But they're selling for like $80 a pop.
They're drop shipping laser pointers, like
Right.
going crazy. I think this is a perfect opportunity for Shaun White to join the narrative again. And they like, I want them to talk about it every single time where when he leaves the room, they're like, he's a skateboarder legend. He made helmets cool in snowboarding. Like, this is crazy, right? And they're like, hey, Shaun, what did your PC do for your pyramid scheme? And he suggests to them, oh, you guys should sell your signatures online. And they're like, but how does that work? And he's like, you could literally sell Dylan O'Brien's signature. And then that's when they find out that their like PC guy, Dylan O'Brien, was in the Maze Runner and what's that movie? Like Perks of Being a Wallflower. He was in the Percy Jackson movie. They're like, oh my God. And they're like, what the heck? And he goes, yeah, me and Shaun are boys. So maybe they're like forging like Dylan's signature, like in between like their drop shipping schemes and stuff. I don't know. Next up. This is the climax of the movie. This is what we've kind of been building up to, okay? This is, if you're in a roller coaster, this is where you're building. It drops, and then you kind of go back up. We find ourselves in the soup ceremony, of course. But Jeremy Allen White tells these no good, dirty, rotten, pig-stealing new members that if they want to make it into the group and impress him, they are going to break in to the local zoo and steal a penguin. And that's right. This is a heist movie. And I want this to be the moment where young Sheldon's leadership gets not only illuminated, highlighted, and celebrated, but then immediately he starts to abuse it, get into it way too much, to the point where he's like pistol whipping security guards. And they're like, bro, calm down. They're like, Sheldon Cooper, relax. And he's like, no, we have to do this. He's too invested. I don't think we can afford a penguin after this. So I think that we could find like just a child actor to stuff into like a duffel bag and just like just ringing around and they steal the penguin. Do you guys have any ideas of how this ensues, how it breaks down, anything like that? Getaway vehicles, stuff like that?
Yeah, I think it'd be funny if this is like, because we've been kind of talking about it like this college is in a small town. So I think it'd be kind of a funny bit if like they're stealing a penguin from a town zoo that only has like 6,000 people. And the fact that this place even has a zoo is like they have a zoo and they have a penguin at the zoo. And I'm imagining like this being like a really for some reason like a really strangely constructed zoo to where like the security is really tough. in like a town that like there's really not that many people here. Imagine like a really hardcore pep talk that young Sheldon gives everybody, and like to the point where like someone knows how to like pick a lock really good, and like it's like a spy movie where they've like gotten in. Young Sheldon's like chloroforming the guards and like tying them in the corner, and then they steal this penguin. And I think it'd also be kind of funny, this penguin, like we obviously don't have the budget to fly a real penguin first class. So like we could do like a CGI penguin, but like it'd be like Shark Boy and Lava Girl level CGI in 2025.
It's like hard to look at.
Yeah. To the point where it's
God.
taking away from the story where they're like, is that supposed to be a penguin? Or like what?
This is such a weird
is that?
creative choice, you know? I forgot to mention this earlier. I want young Sheldon vaping the whole movie. I really want
Every
him,
shot.
Yeah, like it's like that's one of the like pledging activities where they're like, you're getting vaccinated, I'm introducing you into vapes, that kind of thing, to the point where it's like he starts to like have a hookah in his room. His mom is yelling at him. The boys have to break him out. Maybe that's like so picture this. They're all in a tree house situation. They've got the blueprints. They're planning everything. But then Sheldon Cooper's mom comes out. She's yelling at him for having a hookah, and they have to break him out of his childhood home. And this is like Joe Keery. He's in his like, I want like a Pontiac Firebird, like just something so ridiculously cool, because he was the quarterback. He was the cool, dumb himbo that can just sling the rock, you know? And so I just want him to like this awesome character moment where like Sheldon's a little like down on himself. Maybe this is what emboldens him to like take it too far during the heist. But he just has this great leadership moment that is gifted to him from Joe Keery's character, where he's just like, you're not so bad, man. You know, I used to resent you for getting the leadership spot. I'm used to being the captain, but I can tell you're going to lead us through this. And that's why Sheldon Cooper is just like pistol whipping, chloroforming, doing everything, you know?
Yeah, just like a really like super emotional heart to heart between young Sheldon and Joe Keery, to the point where it's like you find yourself tearing up during the table read before you actually go to film. it's like moving.
I want everyone to feel like the end of Iron Claw. And then all of a sudden, we steal the beat from Iron Claw. What is it? Tom Sawyer by Rush starts playing through the cassette of the Pontiac Firebird, and he goes, now let's go catch this bird. And then that's where they peel out to go to the zoo, you know?
That's a great song to do that too, where it's like the camera shot is like slightly below the car and you see it speeding away.
And he's punching it. Like, this is like a residential, like suburb neighborhood situation. And he's straight up honey whipping it around the cul-de-sac. And it's just like Sheldon Cooper, maybe they're driving, and then it's like a detail is Sheldon gets out of the car and he has a like barf bag that is definitely full, and he's like wiping off, but he's handling it. He takes a hit off his like little dab pen. Like that's
like Baby Driver.
Oh yeah. And so I think that like the success of they capture the penguin, and I want Joe Keery, you know, he's sizing up Jeremy Allen White, okay? He just had this great character moment. He just had to reel young Sheldon back in, who just pistol whipped an armed guard. I want him duffel bag with our CGI like monstrosity in there to save budget, and he just dramatically tosses this bird onto the desk, and he goes, we got your bird. Anything else? And Jeremy Allen White, maybe he's not satisfied. He's not loving the attitude, but it's the resurgence of Shaun White, who sells Jeremy Allen White, unrelated, just a fun coincidence, on the idea that these boys are ready for the soup ceremony, you know? And I want Shaun White to look Jeremy in the eyes and just be like, look, man, this kind of reminds me of the time that I made helmets cool in winter sports. And Jeremy's like, what? And he goes, nah, dude, like, No one thought that I could do it. I put it on. People still weren't convinced. They got the penguin for you, man, but you got to let them shred the gnar. Let them get it out there. Let them move some snow, slice and dice, and do some 360s. They're ready for the soup ceremony. It's this beautiful character moment. It's just gorgeous. So they find themselves in the soup ceremony. And listen, to the actives of the fraternity that we are in, I'm sorry to reveal one of our best things, but this is such a good thing to share with the public. It's so money. This is the byproduct of what happens when your fraternity was founded in 1972 in a 1,000-person campus in a city that holds 7,000 people. They come up with this. This is from the start. People have been drinking, eating 72 liters, 1972, 72 liters distributed across the PC. So for Max and I's PC, 72 liters, that's like an aquarium, right?
Yeah, I'd say that's like a medium-sized aquarium. Pretty decent-sized aquarium, but we had 10 people, so 72 liters, it was quite the challenge, but we got it done in a few days.
And we had no idea what was happening. They asked us individually, what kind of soup do you want? And so we're picturing it's dinner time. These guys are giving us food. That's so nice. So we all come together and we're like, we'd like a hearty potato soup. Here comes a gurgling cauldron of soup. So hot. They put it in the center of the room. Lights turn off. And then since it's a college, party house, there's the LEDs that are on their last life with illuminating this maroon glow that just feels demonic around the room. And we're forced to eat in this it's barely a nightlight essentially. And I think it's hilarious because Cakob, your PC had 20 guys in it.
We had 20 guys, but it was way harder to choose the soup. And again, we were the funny guys laughing at the funeral. We didn't know it was our funeral, right? And we're like, this will be funny. So not that this is the main demographic of people we pull from, but we had the vegans on one side who absolutely did not want the bolognese sauce. They just wanted a vegetable soup, which in hindsight would have been way easier. And then we had the Italians on the other side who absolutely were going to either get a bolognese, and I mean a hearty bolognese sauce, or some Italian wedding soup. That was the side conglomeration of Italians. They decided on bolognese sauce. And then there was this huge clash between the vegans and the Italians. And we came to the conclusion of bolognese because it was funnier. I mean, just look at how it's spelled. There's no way that's legit. And then last laugh was on us because, again, like you said, it was a well-lit fever dream just around the whole place, and just pain, just pure pain for days afterward too.
And they had given us this 2x4 that they wanted us to carve into a paddle situation. And so we're like, oh my God, this is the paddles that you see in the movies, Animal House, Dazed and Confused. Thank goodness our group doesn't do that kind of stuff at all. But we carved our nice paddle, and that ended up being how you serve the soup. So it's just a representation of our hard work, which was always I found that pretty cool. But I do have an Odd Duck broadcast exclusive if you fellas are interested.
Shoot.
Absolutely.
Hit me.
I cheated during the soup ceremony. So we had a porta potty down there. I'm telling you right now, it's poorly lit. I'm in there. Put it in the pocket. Put it in this pocket. I've got it in my hands, in my mouth. I'm like, open up the porta potty, and then I'm just, just going crazy in there. And I'm like, I'm just chilling here for 12 minutes or so. Clock hits 9:30, rock is inside type beat. And I pull out, and it's the moon's raging, okay? And everyone is like, yo, Quinn, you all right? And I'm like, I'm gonna thug it out. Don't worry, fellas. Meanwhile, I'm being a dirtbag. I cheated. I probably put, of the 72 liters, I got a solid, probably 12 liters just by me thrown away. I ate so much that I was like throwing up for days. I felt terrible, but I kind of cheated. Or no, I absolutely cheated. But I don't think that our boys need to cheat, because Max had this idea of, Jeremy Allen White. He's like, you get to choose one active to help drink your soup, eat your soup. And take it away, Max.
Yeah, so like typically in years past, we would like allow them to pick one more person to be like their captain or like their superstar player. It'd be like a draft. It'd be like, okay, we don't have enough players. Take your number 1 overall pick. So then in this case, of course, they pick, unbeknownst to the active membership at the time, that penguin is mighty hungry. And his beak, I mean, like, it's just like a nature made like soup straw, basically. Like, I mean, like he can really just like suck it down. And that penguin is quite hungry because he's been out of captivity for a little bit, and he's just at this like dorm room, right? So he's eating hot Cheetos and Funyuns. So he's really hungry for something a little bit more meaty. So they choose the penguin in this case. And the penguin actually ends up being the MVP of the soup ceremony, downing about 14.5 liters in a matter of about, I don't know, probably a day and a half. Which is like,
penguin
that's
is
remarkable.
like, yeah, he's got a gold chain on, sunglasses, listens to Chief Keef, and has a chest tattoo now. Like, he's been in this frat lifestyle for 8 minutes, and he is already one of the boys. Like, they are loving him. Every slice of him is just worth celebrating. And afterwards, this triumph. Okay, they've done it. But we are fishing for an Oscar nomination. We will do anything. Okay, we had the moment with Joe Keery and young Sheldon. We had Shaun White talking to Jeremy. We need something though. The final scene, everyone's at the funeral. I want Jeremy Allen White to get murked by the loan sharks that they took out. All the loans on the horse betting. They probably were investors too on like the Dylan O'Brien like autograph like scheme where they're selling like laser pointers, all that. I want Jeremy Allen White's life to be taken, and the message is like, sometimes those that tested you the most cared even more than that, And so he died, and they feel themselves with a void in their heart. They're all at the funeral wearing all black, and they're just devastated, Timothy Chalamet, he probably has this beautiful scene where he looks off and gives a monologue, talks about what it's like dating Kendall Jenner, I'd imagine it's going to come up. Maybe we get a Pepsi sponsorship. I don't know. But this is my pitch for the ending,
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. I mean, you said Oscar bait. I think this whole movie is just going to be Oscar bait, and it can't lose. I mean, just like given the star-studded cast, the plot, it takes itself seriously enough that people are gonna want to nominate it, and then you just add this last one final heartbreak, and it's like, that's it. Oscar in hand. Not even nominated. They just give you the Oscar right off the bat.
Absolute cinema.
And listen, are we abusing the young Sheldon of it all? He's a hit actor. He's taking the world by storm. Him and Millie Bobby Brown are dating. I get it. No one would expect us to win, but we did because we rigged it. All right. That's our pitch. This is the cinematic whatever. If anyone wants to invest, feel free to hit our line. We're taking investors. Absolutely. We're not scared of that. Thank you so much, fellas, for being here. Thank you so much for representing the fraternity so well. You guys are doing a great job. I'm very, very proud to call you my boys. I was the secretary of the Alumni Association many moons ago, and I love this takeover. I love what's happened. This is leadership out the wazoo. And so you guys this is a little strange because you're not like reality TV guys. Like Matt, I was like, what do you have coming up? What do you want to share? And he's like, I got a podcast, like doing all this stuff. Do you guys want followers on Instagram? Do you want me to tag you at the end of this? Like, this is your moment. Share whatever thoughts you have, whether it's a fraternity, about like yourself, anything, any message you want to deliver.
Doc, Quinn Martin, I'm so happy to be here. Shout me out if you want. I hate being a sellout, so whatever you feel comfortable with, you do you, man. Hey, that's what we're all about, right? In this fraternity is comfort and finding your home. I love this fraternity. I love Alpha Pi Epsilon, Skodone. Happy to be president, but I would not have been able to do it without you, Quinn. So thank you. Thank you.
Happy to be here. Max, do you have anything you want to
Yeah,
show
I
out?
mean, I've got work tomorrow. Nothing too crazy. You know, just kind of doing the wave. Don't need any of that follower business or anything like that. I appreciate being here. Thanks for inviting me on here. It's a pleasure. It's been an honor to pitch this movie with you. I can just see myself now at the Oscar ceremony, watching you walk up there and take that. Just for, because, you're the director, right? Like,
Yeah. I'm going to be like Wallace and Gromit. Like, have you seen them at the red carpets where they have the claymation? I'm going to have claymation Finn Wolfhard and Timothy Chalamet with me on
there
stage.
you go.
There you go.
This is for my Big Brother fans. We didn't talk a whole lot about Big Brother on this episode. If you look in the office space behind Max, there is footage owned by CBS where they tore that office to pieces, reorganized everything, had me I was calling Max, but I was like pretending like you were a client. And I was like, yeah, I've got a 13-week contract in Vermont that pays this amount. And they're like, give us more nurse lingo, whatever that means. So I'm like, yeah, man. And I saw recently that, you recently celebrated your 1-year anniversary of passing the NCLEX. That's huge because for some reason details matter, and then we didn't use any of the footage after tearing it to shreds.
There was a lot of footage that we didn't use. Just for the Big Brother fans out there, the footage of him hugging the sound guy, that's my backyard. And kind of a funny story. One of my neighbors actually was walking by in shorts, nothing on top, and a cowboy hat, and he was just walking by, just kind of meandering, like, so what's going on over there? Oh, cool, that's a camera crew. It was kind of funny. We were looking at people looking out their windows because, I don't know, this is a pretty big.
There were drone shots of Max and I running. This was so funny. They didn't even let me choose any of my friends to go run with. They were like, "Oh, you like to run? All right, well, we're gonna have Max run with you." And I was like, all right, man.
Sure,
and so
dude.
Max and I got footage of us running up and down his streets. There's drone footage, bro.
Yeah.
Over us going crazy. Your neighbors saw it. You had your neighbors building a deck or something out there.
Yeah, they were building their deck that day.
And then they didn't use any of it. It felt like this whole thing was just an opportunity to bully Max.
They were at my house from 11 to 4.
They lost their what's his name? Cisco left his knee brace at your house.
Yeah.
And then they were sending me texts. They were like, hey, do you know where our knee brace is? I was like, no, bro. I was peering through your backyard trying to find it.
You showed up. You and I looked for it. We were like, dude, where is the knee brace? And there was not a knee brace. That shit is gone.
Absolutely phenomenal. For everyone here that's at the end, you let me know in the comment section if you want me to talk with my friends who aren't, reality TV blood-sucking vampires, or if this is just absolutely an insane decision to make for the second episode. You let me know. No bullying allowed, but you fill me in. But yeah, fellas, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope everyone has a great day. Like you said, Skodone, roll tags, horns down, and Alpha Pi Epsilon forever. All right, we out ya.